Hola, hola, and welcome to the Cultura Cash podcast. This is Gigi, your host. I'm a finfluencer, financial educator, and the award-winning author of Cultura Cash. Today, I'm sharing with you a personal update on my personal finances. It's been a while since I shared detailed information about my finances. I know when I first started making content on TikTok in 2021, I was very transparent with like what I had in my investment portfolio, how much I had paid off in debt. And then as I grew, I kind of started withdrawing on that and keeping it more to general financial education. I want to share this because I've hit a new milestone, and I'll get into the details of what that is and why I think it's important to share with you all. So the big update is that I stopped contributing to my retirement accounts. In this episode, I'm going to tell you the 2 reasons why I have stopped paying money into my retirement accounts and what I am planning to do for retirement instead. And at the end, I'm going to share some thought-provoking questions so you can learn how some of this may apply to you and how you can plan for your retirement. So let's get into it. Oh, before I forget, if you hear any booms, any firecrackers, that is my neighbors outside celebrating Fallas. Fallas is a huge celebration here in Valencia, and this week is the most intense week. So if you know like the big booms of megatones, they call them petardos here. It's so weird. For like cohetes, megatones, they call them petardos. And there's little kids. There's kids like 3 years old, blowing these things up. It's very much a part of their culture, and it's all day. It's all day. So luckily I don't live in the city center where it's the loudest, and I don't even know how people that work from home would get work done, especially if they're on calls or recording stuff. But luckily I'm a little further south. So for now, I'm away from the noise. Anywho, so let's get into today's episode. So when you first learned that me, Gigi, the author of Cultura Cash, this financial educator, is stopping retirement contributions at the age of 36, you probably may have a couple reactions. Like, what is going on with this girl? Is she broke? Can she not afford to pay into retirement anymore? Is it because of pessimism? With the state of the world, maybe she feels that the world's on fire with the war and aliens taking over and climate change. There's a lot of things, right? Maybe I won the lottery and got a fat inheritance from somebody, and now I don't have to worry about retirement. None of those things are true. The actual reason why I am not contributing to retirement boils down to actually 2 reasons. The first reason is because I am living and working in a new country. Because I am no longer in the US, I'm in Spain for at least the next 2 years, hopefully longer. There are different tax treatments to the investment vehicles that I'm used to adding money to for my retirement accounts. So just to start out, I'll give you kind of an overview of what I've used to contribute towards retirement in the past. So I have a Roth IRA, very common. I also have a SEP IRA. A SEP IRA, think of it as tax advantage retirement account for freelancers, for small business owners. So if you are a corporate baddie, you have a 401k. If you work at a nonprofit, you have a 403b, right? So I don't have access to those anymore because I work for myself, and I have for the last 5 years. So a SEP IRA is one of the types of accounts that I have access to. And next, I have a rollover IRA, which that is actually money that used to be my 401k. So a lot of people leave their money with a 401k plan once they switch employers, or if they decide to transition out of their job and now do something working for themselves, and they leave the money in that 401k account with their former employer. That might not be the best thing. It depends on your situation, but typically it's not the smartest because you'll be paying for fees now that you're no longer an employee of that company. So to avoid those fees and additional costs, it might make sense to roll your money over to either your new employer, if you have a new employer, or to a rollover IRA, which is, again, an account that is still protected as a retirement account and has tax benefits, but it's just money that I've been able to accumulate for my 10-year corporate career. If you recently read Cultura Cash, I talk in chapter 7 about investing and kind of the different accounts available to you. These accounts that I mentioned, again, Roth IRA, SEP IRA, and rollover IRA, they all provide tax benefits because they are retirement accounts, and the U.S. government wants to incentivize you to prioritize your retirement and pay into those accounts. Well, I am not in the US. I am in Spain. And because Spain is a different country, it's in a whole different continent, they don't have the same rules. They don't have a Roth IRA here. They don't have a 401k here, right? So there's very different tax structures here. So because those accounts don't exist here, the tax benefits that I got to enjoy in the US don't apply here. To do a quick review, for a Roth IRA, the big benefit is that you pay taxes up front. And then when you take the money out in retirement, you are not taxed. So that's why you'll always see people making videos about contribute to your Roth IRA as much as you can, because once you get that money out in retirement, you don't have to worry about a tax bill. Well, guess what? Again, that's a benefit that the US provided. It's not a benefit that Spain ever promised me. So what that means is that Roth IRA money that I was supposed to get tax-free in retirement, if I stay in Spain, I'm actually going to have to pay taxes on it. So I essentially paying taxes on it twice, which again, it should have only been once, right? But again, that would have been the case if I would have stayed in the US. So that's something to consider, right? If you're planning to retire somewhere outside of the US, how the tax treatment is in that country. The SEP IRA, which is my small business or retirement account, for that one, you don't pay taxes up front. The money's taxed in retirement. That typically was great to put money into because it lowered my tax bill. So let's do a clean example. Let's say that I made 100K, again, for simplicity purposes, 100K. Let's say I put 25K of that into this SEP IRA. Being in the US, instead of paying a tax bill on the $100,000, you would only pay a tax bill on $75,000 because that's 100 minus the 25 that you put away for retirement into the SEP IRA, and then you're left over with 75K. So that's great, right? Because you don't pay taxes on the full amount. Those are the tax benefits of having a SEP IRA, IRA, 401k, 403b, anything that falls within that kind of spectrum. But that might not make sense for me because the way that my taxes are going to work moving forward while I'm living in Spain is that I pay taxes in Spain first. I am a Spain resident. I'm spending the majority of my time here, which means that the way that the tax laws work, I pay my taxes here first. And then if the US determines that I still owe money, then I pay the US. Well, guess what? Spain has a significantly higher tax rate than the US. I never realized how good the taxpayers have it in the US relative to other countries. Here in Europe and a lot of Western European countries, yes, you pay a higher tax rate, but then you get social benefits like a universal income. You get access to free healthcare or low cost healthcare, which is not something that is widely available in the US. I'd rather pay taxes up front, knowing that they're going to social benefits to help people, than to pay less taxes in the US and have the taxes that I am paying go to fund war or other causes that I don't care about. So this doesn't make me bitter at all. If anything, I'm like, I'm fine. Tax me, because if that means there's going to be more prosperity for my neighbors, then I'm all for that. And the reason number two why I have stopped adding money to my retirement accounts is because I have hit Coast Fire. I actually had hit Coast Fire a while ago, but I hadn't really celebrated it. But now that I'm in Spain and it doesn't make sense for me to contribute to those accounts, I really can relax knowing that I can stop contributions, but it's not at the expense of my retirement, because I'm going to be okay when it comes to retirement age because of Coast Fire. So in case you've never heard of Coast Fire, it's part of the FIRE movement. The FIRE movement stands for Financial Independence, Retire Early. And it is a big movement where people aggressively contribute money away for retirement so that they can retire earlier. For context, traditional retirement, somebody that works 30 to 40 years in their career, they are typically told to put away 10 to 15% of their money away in retirement to be able to have a dignified retirement at age 65. With the FIRE movement, we say F that, and instead you do higher than that, 20% plus. Some people go as far as 80% of their income they are putting into retirement accounts. I wasn't able to contribute that much. I'll share details in a little bit, but in a nutshell, that is what the FIRE movement is, when you are contributing aggressively for retirement so that you don't have to wait to be 65 to retire. I started contributing aggressively to my retirement accounts during the pandemic. I was able to invest 30% of my income towards retirement. And I did this by maxing out my 401k contributions and my Roth IRA contributions. And then if I had a little money over, it would go into a brokerage account. And when I think about it, I really only did that for about 3 years. So it wasn't years and years and years that I contributed aggressively. It was just for 3 very focused years. And with this pace, I was on track to retire at 45. So this is back when I was in my corporate career, making a stable salary. My income, expenses weren't constantly changing like they are as an entrepreneur. So it was much easier to calculate what that would look like. It was a very clear path. I crunched the numbers over and over just to make sure. And if I was saving at that same rate, I would be able to retire at 45, which to me was great. It's great because 45 is still young and you still have a lot of life and energy in you to be able to enjoy your free time and travel the world and do whatever you want to do with your time. So that was really exciting for me. But that all changed when I decided to quit my corporate job to focus on the First Gen Mentor full time. And that decision was made 5 years ago. So it's been 5 years since I got off the fire track and instead moved to a different track, which is now Coast Fire. So to recap, during the pandemic years, I was being aggressive and contributing a lot of money to my retirement accounts because I was on this fire path. But that changed when I quit corporate to do entrepreneurship. And instead I lowered my contributions. I was still putting money away for retirement, but I think it was enough to just max out my Roth IRA, which is what, $6,000, $7,000, something like that. It changes every year, so it's hard to keep track. But my focus, instead of investing in my retirement, was to invest in my business. So that's where any extra money was going, to build my brand, to build my business, and to be able to make a living off that. One thing I do want to know about the FIRE movement is that it has different spin-offs, let's call them. So there's different variations of FIRE. Again, the traditional variation is financial independence, retire early, where you put away 50% of your income and you retire 20 years before you're supposed to, right? Some people have found that that's not something they enjoy, to put away 50% of their money in retirement. So instead, they will do variations, which will be something like lean FIRE, where you plan to retire on very minimal expenses. So you're super thrifty. There's barista FIRE, where you work a low stress job and just make it to retirement and then you're okay. Coast FIRE, where you don't have to put any money anymore and just coast your way to retirement. Then there's people who are fat FIRE, and that's when they want to have a fat budget to be able to spend. They put a lot of money. These are people that are typically making like $300K, somebody like a doctor or lawyer making a bunch of money. So they have a bunch of money to invest. And then instead of being on a skinny budget, like somebody in lean FIRE, they would get to ball and get 150K per year for their expenses. Coast FIRE is when you've accumulated enough money in your investment portfolio. Again, for me, that includes my Roth IRA, my rollover IRA, and my SEP IRA. And you can stop adding any additional money. You don't have to add another dime, and you will still have a healthy retirement at the traditional age of 65. So let me open up about what those numbers look like for me. I'm going to geek out a little bit, or as the kids say, let me cook. So for me, I have about $230,000 in my investment portfolio. I am 36 and a half. Let's say that I'm 37 for simplicity purposes. So if I just let my $230,000 sit in my investment accounts and just have compound interest do its work, because again, I'm not adding another dime. If I let it do that for the next 28 years, why 28 years? Because 65, which would be traditional retirement age, minus 37, which is the age I am now, is 28 years. So again, if my money, my 230,000 compounds for the next 28 years, then I could have this money grow to 1.9 million. Some people just want to hear this. They're not interested in the weeds. For anybody who is interested in the inputs, let me geek out. There is a compound interest calculator. There's a lot of calculators. The one that I like to use is by the government. I will link it to the show notes, but these are the inputs that it's going to ask you. So it's going to ask you for the initial investment. So basically, how much money do you have now in your investments for retirement? I added 230,000. What is your monthly contribution? How much are you adding every month? I'm putting 0 because I'm not adding any more money. Length of time in years. So the next 28 years, that 230,000 is going to compound with no additional money added, and assuming an interest rate of 8%. for it to be compounded annually. Here is where it very much depends on your investor assumptions on how you feel, the way that you've invested your money, how it could potentially grow. Because I'm very aggressive with my investments, it makes sense to me that I will make at least an 8% return. So when you include all those inputs into the calculator, the $230,000 that I have right now, I don't add another dime. I let compound interest do its magic. That could grow to 1.9 million. And that is a number that feels good. It feels good to me. It's something that it feels like I can retire comfortably. And people might think, wait, like, how do you know it's going to be enough money? Well, there is a way to calculate this too. This is how I know that 1.9 million will be enough for me. So, and I see that for me because for some people, you actually might need a lot less because your expenses are less. Or if you have children and you have a higher cost of living, it might be more, right? The 1.9 might not be enough. I know a lot of people with children that they're aiming for $3 million. So it just depends on your specific situation. But a quick back of the napkin calculation to determine how much money you'll need to retire is calculating your annual expenses by 25. So for me, I predict will be around $60,000. And that is factoring in low cost of healthcare living in Spain. That's one of the things that I love about living here, that I don't have to worry about a medical emergency leading me to financial ruin, because that's just not how things are done here in Spain. The government subsidizes healthcare to make it accessible for its residents. So if you do the math on the $60,000 that I project I will need annually times 25, comes out to 1.5 million. So for me to be able to retire and be able to withdraw $60,000 every year until I die is 1.5 million. So if we go back to the example of how much I could grow my 230K, remember it was in the 1.9. So I'm actually projected to have more money than I need at the time of retirement. Because again, it's 1.9 is what it's projected to grow. But according to this back of the napkin calculation, I only need 1.5. And this is great because with these assumptions, it's assuming that I'm only drawing interest gains from my investment portfolio, that I'm not ever the principal. You can live just on dividends, on interest paid to you. And this allows people to know that they won't run out of money. And then once they pass, if they feel that having an inheritance or donating money to important causes like a nonprofit or a foundation, they have that money to go to those causes or to their family members. Something, again, that's very specific to me. I am child free. I don't have a uterus. My husband has a vasectomy. We are never, ever, ever having kids. So I'm not worried about leaving an inheritance to kids or grandkids, right? If I have some money left over, I'll leave some for my niece and for other young girls that are important in my life. But my goal is to die with zero. And that's actually a title of a book that I love and I'm actually rereading right now. Die with Zero, highly recommend it. And the goal with the die with zero mentality is, again, instead of looking to pass on that money, you spend it on yourself. And that's one of the benefits of just living for myself in this lifetime and being a child-free woman. So it gives me more financial flexibility. To recap, the reasons that I have stopped adding money to my retirement accounts are, first, because Spain does not recognize my US retirement accounts and doesn't offer the same tax benefits that I had in the US. And the second reason that I know I'm able to stop adding money to my retirement accounts and do it stress-free is because I know that I've accumulated enough money in my investment portfolios to hit Coast Fire and not add another dime and still have a dignified retirement at 65, possibly sooner, actually. I have crunched the numbers and that's too much for this episode, but it's looking like I'll be able to retire at this rate without adding any more money around the age of 60, which works out because that's when you're able to pull money from those retirement accounts tax-free and without any penalties starting at age 59 and a half. If you want to retire before the age of 59 and a half, then you should have another way to replace your income, whether that's through rental income or whether it's through a brokerage account that you have flexibility on accessing that money anytime. So what's really exciting is because my retirement is covered, I am now able to have money that I would have used for retirement to instead spend it on me right now, on me or causes that are important to me or family. So for me particularly, I like to spend money on traveling. I'm going to Edinburgh for the first time next month. I'm really excited about that. And right now being in Spain, it's so easy to hop into other countries and get to explore and immerse yourself in other cultures. So it's nice to have that extra money to be able to do things like that. I also enjoy spending money on concerts. I'm going to go see Ariana Grande in August for my birthday. Nosebleed seats, unfortunately, because the tickets were out of control. It's funny because I feel like I need to make a note about this on my book. In the book, when I wrote this in 2022, I was talking about how I had seen Ariana Grande in 2019, front row, and I had splurged $700. Back then in 2019, concert prices aren't what they are now. So at the time it was a splurge. Now it's funny that 7 years later in 2026, when I'm going to see her, I'm paying $600 for nosebleed seats. And also, her brand has grown, obviously, since she's done Wicked and other things. But now to splurge on front row seats would have cost $3,000 plus. And I'm like, I love her, but I don't love her that much. I don't need to spend more than rent to see Ariana Grande. I'm good. If it was Mariah Carey, it'd be something different. The other nice thing about reaching Coast Fire, sorry about the boom, is that I don't have the pressure of having to earn a high income anymore, because I don't have to have extra money to put away towards retirement. I am essentially retired from corporate. I would still have to have a job because I still need money to pay for my everyday expenses, but I don't need more money to be able to put away towards retirement because that is taken care of. So I can keep my small business, doing the work that I do for the First Gen Mentor as a speaker, as a influencer. I can take a lower stress job, like working at a restaurant. I was a waitress all through college and I loved it. I love meeting people and asking them where they're from. And Valencia is a big travel hub, so you always meet international people, or work at a museum. So I think that'd be really fun. Also, this is more about the barista fire space. So if this sounds interesting to you, let me know and I'll make another episode about that. But now some questions for you as you think about how does any of what I shared apply to you. So first, I would encourage you to do some math to see if maybe you have already hit Coast Fire yourself and you didn't know, or maybe you're very close to. So I think that could be exciting. So do the math. I'll share the link for the compound interest calculator that I like to use. And the inputs that you'll need will be your current portfolio value, how much you're adding every month to your retirement accounts, in how many years you plan to retire, and your assumed annual rate of return. I also encourage you to start doing some projections and to calculate how much you think your annual expenses in retirement will be. This helps give you a baseline to kind of check whether you will have enough money to do that when you retire, and include healthcare. For me, again, that was a big win because I do plan to stay in Spain long term, that I don't have to factor a bunch of money for like a hip replacement or whatever older people need. Also, I want to mention that checking that off your big to-do goals to secure retirement through Coast Fire is such a big weight off your shoulders, because you know that no matter what, future you will be okay. As long as you don't touch that money to take your family to Disneyland like my mom did a few years ago, you're going to be fine. So leave that money there, invest it well, make any changes as you have to. And it's exciting to not have to worry about that and just being able to focus on the present. And it might even inspire you to really buckle down and do the FIRE movement. If I would have stayed in corporate, I would have for sure stuck to the FIRE movement, because I knew that the kind of job that I had, even though I enjoyed it, doing investment performance management, I didn't want to do that job till I was 65. So being able to get out 20 years earlier through the FIRE movement was very, very inspiring to me. The other benefits, you have more spending money now to actually enjoy while you are young and to get the most bang for your buck. Because as you age, you're not able to do those fun things like hop on a plane because your back hurts, or, you have other medical issues, go to concerts. Maybe you're not as mobile as you used to. So it's really fun to be able to spend more money at this stage in my life. And the last question I want you to consider is whether you think you are going to end up retiring in the US or if you are planning to retire abroad. I know for a lot of my listeners, they are planning to retire in the motherland. So look into how your withdrawals would be treated as you pull money off from those retirement accounts, and then adjust your priorities accordingly. So again, if you're going to move to a country that's going to tax your Roth IRA money, maybe it doesn't make sense to be prioritizing the Roth IRA, and maybe you should prioritize something like a 401k. So it's worth looking into to see what makes sense for you. That's it for today. I hope that this was insightful. Again, I'm really happy to share this, and it's something that I don't think is talked about enough. I think a lot of people love talking about the FIRE movement, about Fat FIRE, but Coast FIRE, just reaching this milestone can really be a game changer for your lifestyle. So if you want to hear any more discussions about the different types of FIRE movement or different examples, let me know. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts because it does add credibility to the show. And if you have any more questions, feel free to email me at hi@thefirstgenmentor.com. Thanks for listening, and hasta la próxima.